إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. May Allah bless and raise the status of the perfect soul of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whose blessed nur is a guider for us from now until the end of time. And may Allah bless his beloved companions, Sayyidina Abu Bakr, Sayyidina Umar, Sayyidina Uthman, and Sayyidina Ali, and over 10,000 Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. May Allah bless the souls of the people of Ahlul Bayt, and all our sheikhs and teachers who have brought us the mighty gift of Islam. May Allah bless the Ansar and the Muhajireen, and all of the Muslims and non-Muslims of the earth. Guide all of us, Ya Rab, and never deprive us of your rahmah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Amma ba'd. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Fatir verse 37, أَوَلَمْ نُعَمِّرْكُمْ مَا يَتَذَكَّرُ فِيهِ مَنْ تَذَكَّرَ. Did we not give you lives long enough so that whoever wanted to be mindful could have done so? Allah is telling us, Allah is asking us, was our life not long enough in the dunya? That if we wanted to take advantage of our time here, we could have done so? Did we not spend enough years here in the dunya that we could have remembered Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala? In another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Mu'minun, قَالَ كَمْ لَبِثْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ عَدَدَ سِنِينَ. How many years did you remain on earth? And what are the people going to respond? قَالُوا لَبِثْنَا يَوْمًا أَوْ بَعْدَ يَوْمٍ فَاسْأَلِ الْعَادِّينَ. They'll tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we only spent a day or part of a day. And they're so certain that they tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, go check with the record keepers, right, the malaika. Check with them. We were only on earth for a day or maybe even part of a day, because it doesn't register in their minds. How could I have been on this earth for 60, 70 years but only accomplish very little? So in their minds, they must have only been on earth for a day or a half a day. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond to them, قَالَ إِلَّا بِثْتُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا لَوْ أَنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. He will say you only remained for a little while, if only you knew. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually acknowledging that yes, your time on earth was indeed short. You didn't have much time. Which tells you and me, because alhamdulillah we still have a life, we're still alive, it tells you and me that our life here is not long. So we cannot be people that assume that our life is long and we have time and we can delay in starting things fi sabilillah. So now that we know that managing our time and using our time wisely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something important and crucial for us, because wala'ayadu billah, we do not want to be the people on the day of judgment who are panicking and literally going crazy thinking that we're only here for a day, and they're so certain going to the record keepers, and unfortunately for them the record keepers will show nothing for them. So how do we benefit the most from our time here in the dunya? Inshallah, I'll mention a couple of points. The seerah teaches us that procrastination hinders somebody from achieving good deeds. And when Sayyidina Ka'ab bin Malik radiallahu anhu, during the Ghazwat Tabuk, he delayed in joining the army, going on this ghazawat, on this expedition. He told himself, okay, I'll join them later in the day. And then later came, I'll join them tomorrow, it's getting late. And then that kept happening until the army went too far and he couldn't catch up with them. Right, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did forgive him later, it's mentioned in Surah At-Tawbah. But the point here is that the procrastination prevented him from going on the Ghazwa Tabuk, and he missed out on that big reward. So now how this happens is shaitan will make a person feel like they have a lot of time, they have a lot of years ahead of them. If you're a young man or a woman in your 20s, shaitan will come to you and say, you're not married yet, or you have, maybe you're still in school, you have time before you can start developing a habit of reading the Quran and praying, qiyam al-layl, etc. If you're older, in your 40s or 50s, shaitan will tell you you have retirement in the next decade or so. You have time, you have years ahead of you. Shaitan wants to make you feel like you have time, but in reality, we'll get to the day of judgment and find out that we didn't have any time. So that's procrastination, but that's the obvious form of procrastination. But there's actually a more subtle form of procrastination that can be developed if somebody has something called a perfectionist mentality. Perfectionist mentality, meaning that if I want to start something for the sake of Allah, the whole situation has to be perfect. If I want to start reading the Quran and I want to make this a daily habit, I have to have an hour of time to myself. It has to be after Salat al-Fajr. Everyone's asleep and no one will disturb me. And it just has to be a perfect situation for me to start something. And in reality, if you're the type of person that, if you're, let's say, in the shopping mall, your friend or whoever went to the bathroom, you're waiting for them, in 10 minutes you have time to read the Quran. Right? Basically, if you can take advantage of in-between time, in between meetings, in between you're waiting for the train or something like that. If you can be somebody who can take advantage of in-between times, let me open the Quran and read. Let me even work on memorizing the Quran, and perhaps you won't even memorize a single ayah in the 10 minutes you have. But what you've done is you soften it up, and it's easier to memorize when you get home later that day. Right? So being able to take advantage of in-between time and not let the perfectionist mentality say, okay, this is just 10 minutes, it's not going to benefit me. Because those 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes here and there is going to add up, and it's going to be a lot. And it could really go in your favor if you manage them well. So that is the procrastination. Secondly is the schedule. Our Sharia actually trains Muslims to schedule themselves. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا مَوْقُوتًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed the salah upon us at its particular times. Which means that there's certain tasks I cannot do during Salatul Dhuhr because what's going to happen is it will go past. Or why go far? We're Salatul Jum'ah right now. All of us here have work and we're here. All of us have something that we could have done, but we're here because this is the schedule. We cannot mess with the schedule. So our Sharia teaches us to be schedule-oriented people. That's just in the day, but even throughout the year. We have the annual Ramadan. We have the annual Sha'ban. Right? Rajab last month. We have Dhul Hijjah coming up. We have so many events throughout the year that we orient ourselves based on those annual events. Annual timeline, time frames. And the person who, you could be a hardworking person, wake up, work the whole day, and go to sleep feeling like you achieved nothing. Why? Because you didn't have a schedule. You didn't have a plan. And that person actually is right. He didn't achieve anything because he didn't even set something to achieve. He just woke up and worked. 5 tabs open on your computer and different things. Multitasking, don't achieve much. But if you schedule yourself, you have time for everything. Even if it's a small schedule, even if it's a little bit of work to do, you achieve more in the end because it was scheduled, it was planned, and you had something to measure your success with. 30 minutes of Quran, that's my goal. Okay, 30 minutes of your Quran is your goal, that's it. That's your plan. That's your schedule. If you can do that, then inshallah, this is how you maximize your time. Number 3 is to cut off distractions. I actually read this morning that in Canada, the average adult spends just under 2 hours a day on social media. Just scrolling and seeing, honestly, random stuff. Because the algorithm will just feed you whatever. Like you could see the news and then you could see sports and then you could see something else. And it's not productive at all. 2 hours. Alhamdulillah, I think in America it's like 5 hours. Right? Wasted time. Just doing nothing, really. Right? So if we can cut off that wasted time, that 2 hours, we can focus on productivity. Not to say taking a break is not productive, because if you take a break, that could actually strengthen you so you have more energy to work on other things. So taking a break is good too, but 2 hours is not what you need to be spending. You don't need to be spending 2 hours on social media. Or if you use Google or Bing or whatever, you open it up and you see all the news feeds, sports this happened, or the news something else happened this part of the world, and you just see so many different things. If you're working and you work on a laptop, the amount of distractions is a lot. So inshallah, if we can cut off those distractions, it'll help our productivity, and we'll spend that time usefully. And the distractions aren't productive breaks, by the way. They're wasted breaks. And actually, you feel more tired if you're getting distracted. Those 2 hours on social media actually drains your energy. Right? So make sure, inshallah, if you're gonna be taking a break, it's a productive break and it's a planned break. But don't let yourself just be distracted by everything you see on social media or on Google. And obviously to make dua, because being developing the habit of working hard and having energy and overcoming laziness, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you're someone who doesn't have it, you can acquire it. In fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to make dua every morning. Allahumma a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wal-kasal. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from incapacity or feeling unable to do something and laziness. the ability of being unable. You want to do something, but I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough resources, I don't have the skill set, I don't have the mindset, I don't have the environment. Rasulullah ﷺ is teaching us, make dua to overcome that, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give you all those things. And obviously laziness too. Not having the energy, coming home from work too tired. Right? Or not having that will to start something new. And just take a step forward. That's kasal. So if you have these things are overcomable. And Rasulullah ﷺ taught us to make dua for these things. So now to summarize what we've talked about so far, we started off by talking about the importance of time and how on the Day of Judgment there will be people who will regret not using their time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will acknowledge that your time on this earth was short and you squandered it. Right? And we don't want to be like those people. We make dua that we're not like those people. We also talked about, now once we've understood that time is important and I need to be utilizing and investing my time, how do I maximize the benefit from my time? Right? So avoiding the procrastination, scheduling yourself, avoiding distractions, making dua. But now I'd like to draw your attention to the opposite problem. So on one side we had the person who wastes time, but we have the opposite problem of the person who actually goes into the extreme of making sure every moment in their life is utilized towards something productive. Now I'm going to explain what this means. But before I get there, you might be thinking how, based on the circumstances of going to the Day of Judgment and seeing Allah, and Allah asking us how many years are you on earth, and given that time is so short, and most of the time is spent sleeping or eating or using the bathroom, time is already short as it is, and even of that time, most of it's not really being utilized towards things that add value. How can somebody go into an extreme by wanting to use every moment towards doing good? I'll explain how. When somebody, I have three examples. I have three examples for you. When somebody misaligns, when somebody basically doesn't understand the spirit of the religion. Shaitan can pull someone in the other direction too. Number one example, somebody becomes imbalanced in their life. One person, he says, I want to read Quran only, I'm not going to spend time with my family. One person says, I want to pray Qiyamul Layl, I'm not going to go to work. This is imbalance, and this is going towards the extremism. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, some of them, they decided, we're going to pray all night, we're not going to sleep. We're going to fast every day, we're not going to eat, and we're not going to get married. Because we want to maximize we're going to maximize our productivity and do the best we can in this life for ourselves and for our ummah. And they meant well, right? They had the right intention. These were people who sacrificed anything and everything so that you and I can be Muslims today. So they meant well by this. But Rasulullah ﷺ taught them the better way. Rasulullah ﷺ told them, I am more God-fearing and conscious than you. But I eat, but I fast and I eat. I pray Qiyamul Layl and I sleep and I get married. This is my way, and whoever doesn't want to follow it is not from me. Right? He made it very strict on these Sahaba that this is my way. This is the middle way. This is the way. This is the Sunnah. And if you're not following the Sunnah, then what are we doing? Right? We are, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called us, ummatun wasata, right? The middle, the moderate nation. The nation that is balanced, that is moderate. Right? So being a balanced person is part of our deen. It is the Sunnah, and is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects from us, nonetheless. Point number 2 is to remain compassionate. And what happens to some people, unfortunately, not everybody, but people who are very achievement driven, right? In business, they want to take their business to the next level, or they're in the corporation, the job, they want to climb the corporate ladder, get the next promotion, or in their education, they want to achieve a certain milestone, right? These are good things. You should be striving towards these things. But what some people do, if this is done without any guidance, slowly, subconsciously, they become more cold. They become more cold, actually, and they become less compassionate towards other people. And some people start developing a habit of, anything that doesn't relate to my work is not worth my time. It's a waste of time. These people, they don't go places with people. They don't talk to people. They're focusing on their work. They're focusing on the achievements. And this mentality can be seen towards the deen as well. I mean, somebody who wants to memorize the Quran, he's very determined. Somebody who wants to learn the deen, he's attending all the majalis of ilm and reading the books, and he's spending all his time there, which is very good. But the problem comes is what he starts neglecting other things. He's neglecting people, his family, right? Notice, subhanAllah, how shaitan, earlier I mentioned shaitan can convince a person that he has time, he has years ahead of him. Don't worry, you can, you don't have to be serious now. If you're in school, you're in university, your exam is coming up, you can hang around with your friends today, it's okay. You don't have to study now. The exam is in 2 weeks. Here's the opposite problem. Shaitan is telling a person that you could continue, to continue work harder and harder and harder, and anything else is actually taking away from your goal. So shaitan attacks people differently. But how is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Right? The example, he's the one we're supposed to be following. How was he alayhi salatu wasalam? The busiest person in the history of humanity. Right? He was running the affairs of Medina, politically, economically, militarily. Medina being under constant threat from the Quraysh and other surrounding tribes, having to make sure the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they understand the deen well enough and to teach and to bring more people to Islam, because after he goes, it's them to carry this deen to us, right? He had 9 wives he would to attend to, right? Every single day he would visit his wives. He was the busiest person in the history of humanity, and also he achieved more than anyone ever did or ever will. In 23 years, changed the whole world by himself. And the Sahaba also with him. So how was he? I mean, if he's the busiest person and he's achieved the most, then how was he alayhi salatu wasalam? What did he also do? He didn't cut himself off from people. He would hug and kiss his grandchildren, Sayyidina Hassan and Hussein. He would get on his knees and play horsey with them. They would climb on his back, and he would play with them and crawl on his back, and they would have fun they would have fun. An old lady would have no problem pulling him to the side and wanting to talk to him. Not just Sayyidina Hassan and Hussein, his grandchildren, any child, he would give them time, he would talk to them, he would play with them. Sayyidina Umar bin Malik radiallahu anhu, the younger brother of Sayyidina Anas, Rasulullah saw him upset. And he asked Sayyidina Anas, why is he upset? And he told him his pet bird died. So Rasulullah went to him and he told him, what's the matter? Right, even though he knows what the matter is. What's the matter? And he tells him, my bird died. And then Rasulullah, he tells him, let's talk. Tell me about your bird. He wanted to comfort him, right? Let's talk about your bird. And he cheered him up. Now, this is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is Sayyidul Khalqullah. This is the master of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of all creation, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the master of all of it. Imagine you're a child talking to him. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he talks to anybody, right, this is the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where anybody who addresses him, he turns his full body towards them, he smiles, and his expression is, labbayka wa sa'adayka. I am at your service with pleasure. Meaning he shows the person that you have my full attention, I'm here to talk to you. You have my full attention, and with pleasure, that I'm happy to talk to you. Sometimes like you're busy, someone calls you, you're like your attention is half there, you want them to hurry up so you can continue with your day. Rasulullah ﷺ will show them that I am here, present in this conversation, and I'm happy to be here, and he shows his smile. How can I help you? So now, not just saying Umar, he's a child, but anybody like that. It's that compassion, brothers and sisters. That's what he had. And as I mentioned earlier, if that's the sunnah and we're doing something else, then we have to adjust ourselves. You want to work hard, you want to maximize your time on this dunya, this is the way to do it. Being compassionate towards other people. Which brings me to the final point, which is to live your life for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This might sound a little bit vague, but I'll explain inshallah. It ties into the previous 2 points as well. Live your life for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means do what He wants you to do at every moment of your day. Let me explain what this looks like. Let's say I have a goal. I want to go home after work, between 6:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. This is my Quran reading time. Sounds like a pretty solid plan. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely support me, inshallah. Now 6:30 comes, and my mom calls me. She needs me to grab groceries. And I tell her, this is my Quran reading time. I can't help you. This is absolutely wrong. Maybe my brother needs me. Maybe my sister needs me to drive her from point A to point B. A friend needs me. He has an interview the next day, and maybe I'm able to help him. And I tell them this is my Quran time, or I have my plan set. I cannot attend to this. This is wrong. You're supposed to move with it. We're supposed to move with it. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs me to do at that moment, you're supposed to jump to it. Right? Shaykh Ali mentioned to us in class not too long ago, a while ago now actually, but you don't look at one corner. Right? One corner, this is the Quran, I'm just focused here. You're supposed to develop that 360-degree vision where I can see everything. Wherever Allah needs me, I jump to that. One moment I could be reading the Quran. Next moment I could be teaching a class. Next moment I could be attending a fundraiser. Next moment I could be playing horsey with my kids, as Rasulullah did, copying the sunnah of him alayhi salatu wasalam. I could be shoveling the snow. I could be visiting somebody who's sick. So many different things. Sayyidina Imam Al-Junayd radiallahu anhu, rahimahullah, he said, the true sadiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he changes 40 times a day. From one thing to another thing to another thing. He keeps jumping from one thing to another. Not because he's disorganized, because he recognizes what Allah needs from me at this moment. I had a plan, Allah has a plan too. Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu was really famous for this. He heard somebody was sick, he would visit them. He heard there was a janazah, he would attend the janazah. He heard there was a slave, he would free the slave. In fact, during his khilafah, which was a very, very difficult time. Brothers and sisters, brothers, please move up. We have a lot of empty gaps here. During his khilafah, which is a very tough time for the Muslims, what he would do after Salatul Fajr, right, imagine how busy he is, the type of responsibilities on his shoulders, what he would do, he would leave the masjid and he would walk in the opposite direction of his home. Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he understood that, he noticed this. So he said, one day he said, I'm going to follow him from far away. I want to see what he's doing. Because Sayyidina Umar, he took him as a role model, Sayyidina Abu Bakr, and he wanted to take from him. So he's following Sayyidina Abu Bakr, and then he realized that he's going really far. He's way outside of Medina now. Eventually he gets to a house, he enters the house, and then Sayyidina Umar, he hides behind, he waits for him but hidden. He's there for hours, and then eventually, now it's past shuruq, the sun is way up, and it's really hot. Sayyidina Abu Bakr leaves and he goes back to Medina. Sayyidina Umar goes into the home and he sees an older lady, a blind lady, with her grandchildren. Allahu a'lam what happened to their parents. He asks them, what does that man do for you? And she told him that he cleans the home and he prepares breakfast for me and my grandchildren. And then he asked, who is the man? Do you know who he is? And she said, I have no clue who he is. And this is what the Khalifa would do every single day for this old lady. And guess what? When Sayyidina Abu Bakr passed away, Sayyidina Umar copied him and continued to do that. Not just that, Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab actually was famous for, as the Amir al-Mu'mineen during his Khilafah, the Ummah was prosperous. There's a lot of, the Ummah was growing. What he would do, himself would do night patrols and talk to the people of Medina and look for things to do. Look for where am I needed? Where does somebody need me? And the stuff he would do during these night patrols was really remarkable. SubhanAllah, talk about having a plan and it going in a completely different direction. Like he would be walking, next thing you know, out of nowhere, there's a woman giving labor. And for whatever reason, her husband didn't want to help her. He ran home, he brought his wife. He tells his wife, do you want good deeds? She says, yes. And then follow me. They rush back to the house. He cooks the meal, and she helped the woman deliver the baby. And she didn't even know this is the Khalifa, the Amir al-Mu'mineen. So we can talk a lot. Actually, Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab honestly actually inspired this last part of the khutbah for me. But there's a lot we can say about that. But what he did, now books can be written about his level of leadership, but really what we can take from this is the ability, we need to learn how to govern our lives and understand what is needed from me at every moment of my life. Not because my to-do list says what, of course it's for Allah, but Allah has another plan. And if I were to summarize this point actually, I don't remember the scholar who said this. I remember C.D. Ibrahim mentioned this in a khutbah some time ago. The foolish person goes to sleep wondering what he's going to do the next day. Whereas the wise person, the wise believer, goes to sleep wondering how is Allah going to use me the next day. Because he had a plan, or she had a plan, but they know Allah has a plan. They have a plan. This is basically, I have a plan. Quran, dhikr, go to work, do this, do this, do this. Ya Allah, this is my plan. Now use me for whatever you want me for. That's the mentality, brothers and sisters. Now with Ramadan coming up, and during the month of Sha'ban, a blessed month, prepares us for Ramadan. right? Ramadan is where we need to be investing the most time in ibadah, in Quran, in dhikr, in salah. Of course, this Ramadan should not be like last Ramadan. But in saying that, we cannot be people who misalign. We cannot be people who lose the spirit of the deen. Doesn't mean we work so hard on the Quran and our family needs us and we don't attend to them. Right? And I'll give you a prime example of Ramadan. I'll wrap up with this now. The easiest example. Somebody invites you for iftar and it's tarawih. And you want to attend the tarawih salah. But you recognize that this person really enjoys my company. I'm here in their household. Perhaps it makes more sense you stay a little bit longer and come a little bit later for tarawih if it means making that person happy. Recognize what Allah wants from you. Allah will reward you for the rak'ats you missed. You can even make them up later too. Recognize what Allah needs from me. Brothers and sisters, that is the lesson I take for myself, and I hope I want all of you, inshallah, to take with you to Ramadan, inshallah, moving forward. Amin ya Rabbil Alameen. Aquli qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum fastaghfiruhu innahu wal ghafurur rahim. Alhamdulillah wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما يا رب, I ask of you to make us people who understand what you want from us, and let us be true servants of yours, Rabbil Alameen, and elevate us to the maqam of ubudiyyah, and let us focus on what pleases you at every moment, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Let us earn your rida, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and let all of us, Ya Rabbil Alameen, reach Ramadan happy and motivated, and forgive all of us, Ya Rabbil Alameen, make this Ramadan life-changing for every single person here, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and make us an ummah that Sayyidina Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is proud of. Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. A couple of announcements before we start the salah. So this February 14th, so for next Friday, we have a majalis of dhikr for Nisfu Sha'ban, so the halfway point of Sha'ban. This is a very blessed night. This is where all of our deeds for the year are raised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it will be at 7:30 p.m. It will be a night of Quran and dhikr, a lecture by Sheikh Walid. There will be no potluck. But inshallah, what you could do is you can join our WhatsApp community or our social media, and you will be notified, you'll be reminded of these things and other events that are going to come. Inshallah, Ramadan will be eventful as well. So stay tuned for that. Ramadan iftar sponsors, if you'd like to sponsor an iftar, you can speak to one of the volunteers, and inshallah we'll greatly appreciate that, and we'll manage that for you. And nonetheless, the donations, please remember your generous donations to the center. If you haven't explored the automated donation option, know that this is basically you set up a donation of whatever, $5 a day, $3 a day, whatever it is, and it'll just go. You don't have to donate every single time. It just goes on its own. Especially for Ramadan, this is something you really want to take advantage of and benefit from every single day. Amin Rabbil Alameen. Barakallahu feekum wa JazakAllahkhair wa aqim as-salah.